And now, Mr. TV Classics himself, Steve Beverly.
You'll never know just how much I miss you.
She was a young woman from Texas. She had sung with a number of bands and groups, but her grandmother and her mother always wanted her to sing on the Lawrence Welk show. And so she finally auditioned for Mr. Welk. And one of the earliest songs after joining the show in 1969 that she performed was this one. It was one that her mother taught her.
For haven't I told you so a million or more times? You went away and my heart went with you. I breathe your name in my every prayer, and if there's some other way to prove that I love you, I swear I don't know how. You never know if you don't. Don't know now.
I can't tell you how long I've been waiting on this one, because this has just been one of my favorites dating back to when she made her premiere on the Lawrence Welk Show in the late 1960s. Ralna English is here with us tonight on TV Classics. And Ralna, thanks for doing this. We are so thrilled, and I know our PBS viewers are particularly pleased to see you here in advance of the Lawrence Welk Show.
Oh, Steve, well, it's my pleasure to be here with everybody. And we're in Tennessee now, right?
Yeah, we are West Tennessee and West Tennessee PBS, and that's where we are. And then also, viewers are seeing you on Channel 6 in Jackson, Tennessee.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? It's so funny. I was in Jackson, Tennessee back with the Welk Show, or back in 1978 or something like that. My mother kept a calendar. It was a Lawrence Welk. I could even shown it to you. I wish I had it. But anyway, it was a little calendar, black, and she on that calendar, it had Lawrence Welk's picture on the front of it. And on that calendar, she put all my show dates, all our show dates. And one of them was Jackson, Tennessee. And I can't remember if it was 70, somewhere in there.
I am betting that was probably what used to be known as the Jackson Coliseum.
Probably. Oh, yeah, for sure. We played all those Coliseums, and Lawrence was just on fire. You know, he was so charismatic on the stages, and loved his audience so much, Steve. Yeah.
Well, I want to start with this by going how you got really interested in singing to start with, before the Welk Show, before anything else. How did you start your journey as a singer?
Well, you know, my mother said I was singing, humming before I was talking, and that's probably true. I've just always been a singer, but my first performance was when I was 7, and I was standing on the stage of Spur, Texas, little tiny town, 900 people at the time. And I think there's less even now, to be honest with you. But anyway, I love that little town, Spur, Texas, and I spent my first 10 years there. But my knees were, I had a little dress on and with a sash in the back, and I'm standing on the edge of that tall stage looking out at the audience, and my knees were shaking so bad. I sang Daddy's Little Girl. You're the end of the rainbow, my pot of gold. Your daddy's little girl to have and hold. And I was singing that, and oh my gosh, I was so scared. I was just scared to death. But anyway, that started it all right there.
So you continued to do that, and what was the next step for you, say in high school or whatever? Did you do musical plays, or what did
No. I was 11 years old that summer, and moved to the big city, Lubbock. And anyway, they heard these guys in a rock and roll band across town heard about this little 11-year-old that could sing. So I started singing with this group called the Ad Libs. And when I was 13, I got my first paycheck. So, we played for all the Texas Tech, all the fraternity and sorority parties, and we'd play the country clubs, went to Midland, Odessa. We'd drive in the car, and I'd fall asleep in the front seat and I drive home. But anyway, we had the Battle of the Bands one Saturday night.
We're crazy about love myself. You're crazy about love myself. Well, when we today can't think about nothing else. I've seen so many men like looking through my phone. I've seen so many men like looking through my phone. Well, these young cats are making the girls and go home. I want to go north, east, south, west, every which way, long, long land, long, long land, long, long, baby, I don't care.
And my little band beat Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that Buddy grew up, in Lubbock. So yeah. And my parents even played cards with his mom and dad, believe it or not. But yeah, and I did the Jimmy Dean. My hair is not working for me today. But anyway, Jimmy Dean, the Sausage King.
Oh yeah.
He had a Saturday Night Jamboree show, and I was on that, and traveled around. I got a little record contract when I was 16. Waylon was 18. Waylon Jennings was from little town outside of Lubbock, and we were on the same with the same recording company. And I even sang backup on his first record. He was so shy. Waylon was back then. But we traveled around, and we would set up on the back of flatbed trucks in the middle of a little town, a little square, and sing for the people. And we traveled all the way to Houston to promote our record. And my first little record with that, it was called, Tell Me Fortune Teller. And it was my claim to fame, another claim to fame, #1 in San Bernardino, Texas. Anyway, so then let's see. So I started at Tech, and that first year I auditioned for Six Flags Over Texas. So anyway, I was chosen from like 600 people that auditioned, I guess. And I left Lubbock, and I never went back because a recording company heard my voice, actually, because down the hall from them, they were editing our show. I was in the Campus Review, it was called. And they were editing that, and these guys heard my voice, and they came down and said, "Who is that?" And so they came out to to Six Flags and heard me sing and asked me if I would stay in Dallas and do jingles for their jingle company. And at the time, Dallas was the #1 jingle play for jingles. Later, it was Chicago and something else, but at that time, it was Dallas.
So you were doing commercial jingles then?
Yeah, commercial jingles for all over the United States. And yeah, I did Florida, a lot in Florida. Yeah, all over. Yeah, my voice was everywhere.
And
then at night, I sang in a little jazz club. And that's really where I think I developed my voice and got my training, because I was there 4 hours a night, and then 4 hours, doing jingles during the day. And I loved that little jazz club I worked in. I think that time was one of the happiest times as far as singing for me, because it was so creative. We were also creative.
And I'm gathering that that's probably where you developed a style in which you could sing just about any type of song.
Well, yeah, because I was singing country music with Jimmy Dean and, back then, and rock and roll but no, then I started singing jazz, and I became what people have called a singer, somebody that can just sing anything, any genre, basically, except opera. I didn't quite make it there. Not like Linda Ronstadt with that incredible voice of hers.
But that was during the years on the Welk show. That's what we could see. You could take a Broadway standard, a ballad or country, and make it work. You could sell the song, and that was really, I think, what all of us saw through the years when you were on the show. Well, let's fast forward a bit to how did Lawrence Welk find you?
Well, I went about as far as I could go in Dallas, and went all the way to Hollywood. It just on a whim, I guess. It went to LA and I first got there, and I went to this little place called The Horn in Santa Monica.
Jim Neighbors was there at the Horn too.
Oh my goodness, you know that? Yeah,
I know that story. Yeah,
he was discovered as Gomer Pyle.
Yes,
he started with Gomer Pyle. So Jim was there. Steve Martin was there doing his crazy, tricks, magic tricks and everything with the arrow through his head and all that. And he was very shy too, really. But Jim was just precious. Oh, we all loved Jim so much. But who else was there? Well, people would come in like Carol Burnett, Liberace, Judy Garland. There's a story about Judy Garland and Guy. She kind of went for him. This is before we were married, and she saw him, and he went. Anyway, long story I'm not going to go into, but nevertheless, she was smitten with Guy. And anyway, let's see, who else was there? But anyway, so I started working there, and then I got a call from the guys in Dallas, some of the musicians, saying, hey, the Kirby Stone 4 needs a girl singer at Nero's Nook, Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So I took off and went to Las Vegas and worked with Kirby in the lounge there at Caesar's Palace, and I would keep coming back. And, my grandmother, she was the reason I watched the Lawrence Welk, or she made us watch the Lawrence Welk show at her house. I mean, you couldn't watch anything but at her house on Saturday nights. And I still remember Jimmy Roberts and Norma Zimmer's faces. And I can literally go back in time in my grandmother's living room and see their faces on her television screen, if you can believe that. But
I can. I indeed can.
Yeah. But anyway, so they called, and I went there, came back, and she had never heard me sing. And so I said, 13 performers there were every night at the Horn. And we did a show, and we would do our individual things, and we would sing group songs and all that. So I said, does anybody know anybody from the Lawrence Welk Show? My grandmother's never really heard me sing, and I'd love to have her hear me sing, and I'd love to do the Lawrence Welk Show because she loves that show. So believe it or not, somebody knew somebody. They came down, they heard me sing. He said, come in tomorrow down the street, actually, because the horn was on Wilshire Boulevard, Santa Monica Boulevard. Anyway, Wilshire is what it was on. And then Lawrence was down the street at Ocean, on Ocean Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
His offices, blocks, 26 blocks away, believe it or not. So the next day, and by that time I was married to Guy. We had just gotten married, and he took his guitar, and it's a long story, and he'll tell you this. He had already auditioned for the Lawrence Welk Show himself. So that's another story. But anyway, so he brought his guitar, and I went down to Lawrence's office, and sure enough, he was coming in from a golf game, and I'm trying to think. S.K. Grundy was his name.
Yes.
And S.K. said, Lawrence, here's a little girl that would like to sing for you. Oh, you sing, my girl. Come into my office and sing for me. So Guy and I went in there, and, he had his guitar, and I sang a little song called I Have Loved Me a Man. And I sang that song, and Lawrence said, basically what he said to me was, don't call us, we'll call you. That's what I heard. And I heard, I'm never going to hear from him again. But he did say that he would call if there was an opening, and he did a couple of months later. And I got on the show, and that was history from then on. But before that, I had done a tour in Asia for 6 weeks. I left, when I left Caesars, I went directly to Asia, and I worked the NCO and officers clubs all over Asia, Okinawa and the Philippines and Japan and I'm trying to remember. Okinawa, Japan, the Philippines. Where else would I have gone? But anyway, my mother went with me. She was in her 50s at the time, and she went with me there. I also did a show this was incredible. When I was working at Caesars, they got me to go to Puerto Rico, to the El San Juan Hotel for a month and work that main showroom there. Mm-hmm. And they took these, I was a girl singer. I'd slink out on the stage in my green sequin dress and sing a song and go off the stage. And then the ventriloquist would come on and do his act. And then the comedian. And then they had these showgirls. They were real with the headdresses and their exposed bodies and everything.
Yes.
Bosoms, as Lawrence Welk would say. But anyway, no, it was quite something. And I was there for a month doing that show. So I think that's why, Lawrence and I really got along really well, Steve. And the reason was I was talking to Mary Lou yesterday. Mm-hmm. And because I'm going to go to her house in another week stay with her for a few days and go to some parties in Los Angeles. But anyway, I was talking to her. He loved Mary Lou, and he loved me, and others also. We weren't the only ones, but we were talking about that. And I was telling her, I really think that the reason he had so much affinity for me was because I had paid so many dues on the road before I got on that show. I was 27 when I got on that show.
Yeah.
And most of the girls and younger were a lot younger, and the men were younger too, So, I loved him. We had a lot of respect for each other, basically.
When it was your first week on the show, yeah. What was that like for you, and what was it like for you joining this musical family? I mean, was it a smooth transition, or was it like being the new kid in school for the first day?
Well, it was a whirlwind because, we had to go in and be fitted on Monday, and we rehearsed on that day also. Tuesday morning, we shot the show, or we rehearsed it on stage with cameras
Mhm.
and lighting and everything. And then we would have a dress rehearsal later on. We'd break for dinner after that, and then come back and or before that, and then do the show. And it was no stopping. I think once a light broke, and it made this huge racket and fell onto the band, and we had to stop taping. But I don't remember ever stopping tape for anything other than that, because it was money out of Lawrence's pocket.
Yeah, and also thinking about the fact that the show originally, up until about 1964, was done live,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think he strongly believed in the value of a show
Yes, he did.
being done straight through live to tape.
You know more than I know, Steve. And that's true. You're really up on all this.
I've read all the books, and
Oh,
I
yeah, you have.
and I read his biography and his second book as well.
Oh my
And
goodness.
but I understand that it was, I think, for the audience, if the show had ever gotten to the point where you just did it sectionally, it wouldn't have had the same spontaneity that it always did, and why people migrated to this show.
You're so right.
It was amazing how that was. Now, you initially went on as a solo. What led to Guy joining you on the show?
Well, we were newlyweds, and we'd gotten married in January, and I had to go on the road, 3-week road trip that summer. And I was miserable because I was this madly in love with Guy Hovis and just couldn't stand to be away from him. So when we got back, I I said, we've got to get you on this show. So because he had already, as I said, he had already auditioned, I think twice, and he knew somebody. Jim Hobson's wife, Elsie, was from Kosciuszko, Mississippi.
Right.
And she had told Guy well, you know all this too?
Yeah, but our viewers don't. You need to tell them.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, yeah, she had gotten him to audition, But anyway, so I said, we've got to get you on this show. So it came the Christmas show. And I thought, this is perfect. We could do Little Toy Trains.
Little Toy Trains. I remember it well.
Yep. And so I went to, who did I go to first? I think I went to Jim Hobson. And he said, no, we don't have husbands, only children on our Christmas show. And then I went to George Cates, musical director. Oh, no, you can't know that. I went to, Jim was the director, I said producer, I think. But anyway, Jim Hobson was the director of our show. I went to him, I went to George, I went to the assistant, I went to everybody. And finally I said, Guy, let's go in tomorrow and bring your guitar and we'll sing Little Toy Trains for Lawrence. So we went in, and the rest is history,
Yeah, and I can remember that night. And now, Mr. and Mrs. Guy Hovis with a Little Toy Trains. And when that happened, I said, "Who is that?"
Well, that we really, he was trying to feel that out. He didn't quite know if that was going to work or not. But at that point, we got more fan mail than he did at that point. So it was like, Lawrence was so smart. I mean, people, you know what? He was smart in that he hired people, his financial people, his the musicians were more talented than he was musically in that. I mean, as far as the musicianship, but he was a very smart guy. Lawrence was very smart.
probably one of the greatest businessmen that television has ever seen. And
And I'll tell you, he was, and I'm telling you also, he was so charismatic, Steve. I'm sure you never saw him on stage, but he was so different than what you saw on television.
Mhm.
He just lit up a stage, and he had the audience in the palm of his hand from the moment that show started until the end of that show. And he was just pure charisma. And
I did see him at the Jacksonville Coliseum in 1972. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because I mean that was a personality. I mean, he was always very warm on the air, but that was a personality. Watching him between the numbers, et cetera, like that the viewers never got a chance to see.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. He and you know, when I was in Vegas, I got to see a lot of great performers. You know, on my day off, I'd go see their show or whatever. And anyway, yeah. I'll tell you a little story about Elvis. Later on in his, well, gosh, there's two stories, but nevertheless, what Guy and I found out was that he would lie in bed on the night of the Lawrence Welk show and watch us and talk about what a beautiful couple we were. And another really huge compliment that we got was from Ted Kennedy, because it's a long story, but Guy was involved with Trent Lott. We actually went around to all these farms, and Guy would take his guitar and vote for Trent Lott. I was singing when before he became got into the House, when he first started his career. So
Right.
we've been friends all these years. But anyway, but Ted Kennedy, I went to Washington and met Ted Kennedy at one point in time. He told me that Joe and Rose, his parents, watched us on the Lawrence Welk show and just loved the two of us, you know. So anyway, I mean, those things just stuck with me in my heart, and I've carried them all these years because it's just I think I got more joy from things like that than almost anything, hearing little stories like that, you know.
Let me fast forward a bit to 1971.
Okay.
And the ratings had been really strong all the way through 1969. There was a slip in 1970, but nothing that people were nervous about. But Lawrence gets called to the telephone while he's playing golf in April of 71, and it's a reporter from UPI who says that ABC has just released its fall schedule and your show is not on it.
Yeah.
Do you have any comment about that? And of course, in his book, Lawrence said that he thought it over very carefully and tried to be as judicious as he possibly could on that. But when the word got out to all of you that the axe was falling from ABC after 16 years, what was the general thought or mood?
We were kind of in shock, all of us, to be honest with you. These young executives had come in to ABC, and they wanted to make their own mark with their own productions, and they just eased Lawrence out. You know, even though his show was, number one show, we had 30 million people every week that watched that show. And anyway, as it turned out, he syndicated and had more stations than he did before. So we just went forward like it was, nothing.
It was about a week, and then suddenly it breaks in Broadcasting Magazine that Don Feddersen is putting together the Lawrence Welk Network, as it had become to known, in between Canada and the United States. You were on close to 260 stations, which was way more than you were on with ABC. And Ralna, I have to tell you, there was one song that you and Guy did after the show was in syndication that I was almost in the floor in hysterics, mainly because you sang the song that Roy Clark wrote, the Lawrence Welk Hee Haw Counter-Revolution Polka.
You're you're so funny with knowing all this stuff, Steve. Oh yeah.
It was hilarious because I had Roy's album where he sang that, and I'd seen him sing it on The Tonight Show. And then when you guys started singing it, I said, this is the ultimate song that is having just such a fun, if you will, biting commentary on network executives and decisions.
So true. We need to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely one of the, because I wasn't expecting it that night, because they had stopped a number of years back. They had stopped listing the individual songs that you were going to sing in TV Guide. But when that popped up that night, I thought, I can't believe they're doing
Oh yeah, we had so much fun. We had such a fun time.
And it came across to the viewers that there was just so much fun that everybody seemed to be having.
You know,
And during the syndicated years, it just seemed as though the show just kept going and going and going until finally, I think if I recall correctly, it was Lawrence's family that finally convinced him to slow it down and give up the show. You were still among the top 5 shows in syndication when it all came to an end in 1982.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, Lawrence had kind of a hard time at the end of his life. But he still had that personality. I made a pie and went over and took it to his house. And at that point, he was blind. He had been going and getting his glasses from an optometrist instead of going to an ophthalmologist and having all of these testings done. And he wouldn't have been blind if he had. But anyway, all his kids learned from that, and they went and had, they changed their changed everything. So I mean, they're all fine. But yeah, he still had that, that personality, and I don't know, he was quite a man. Lawrence, Steve, he always called us his musical family. You were saying that, how much fun we had and everything. And I don't think he really knew what a family it would become. I talked to Gail Farrell yesterday, or day before yesterday. I talked to Mary Lou yesterday. Sissy King, Bobby's partner, just texted me a couple of days ago. I mean, I have kept in touch with just about everybody. I've sung for so many memorials. That's all I do these days, Steve, is sing for memorials. I went back to sing for Richard Malouf's memorial, Mary Lou's husband. He was the bass player on our show, and that place was packed. This church was absolutely packed. It was so great to see that wonderful, I hadn't seen Bobby in a long time. Bobby was there and others. But anyway, we really did become a family, and so to speak. I'm going to be seeing Tanya, his ex-daughter-in-law, and his grandkids. We call him Buns, but it's Lawrence Welk the third. And Kevin, and when I'm in Los Angeles. So, I mean, he really created something beyond just that television show for all of us.
Well, as it turns out, the longest running variety music hour in the history of television, because counting syndication, 27 years, and I can't count American Bandstand as the same type of genre. That was a different element. But as far as prime time was concerned, nobody will ever top that record because nobody's doing variety shows anymore, and I doubt they ever will. A couple of things I wanted to touch base with you about. You and Guy became America's couple to a large degree.
Yeah.
How much of a microscope did that put you under? Because knowing how America felt about the two of you.
Well, I guess it did. I think Guy felt that more than I did. I, uh, but people saw us as the happily married husband and wife team, and they related to us because we had so many couples that had been married 50 years, 60 years, happily so, and they saw us and they saw themselves. It's going to make me cry. No, they saw, those happily married couples saw us, and they remembered a time that brought them back to a time, probably maybe when they first met and they fell in love. And it just meant a lot to me, that we represented that for them, and to Guy too, even though Guy and I are really great friends and he's been married since me, but and his wife calls me her wife-in-law, sis now. But anyway, we began working together a lot more after Milestones and Memories. We started working together again, even though we had done a few things, but we really started a real friendship, and of course we raised our daughter. We have a daughter, Julie, who's a teacher here in Phoenix, and she's been teaching for, gosh, over 20 years now. And we raised her, and we just, she knew a mother and a father that got along, basically, and all these years. And I don't think she's told me that, she felt loved by her dad and loved by me, and the camaraderie that we've always had. And I told Guy, we were doing Milestones and Memories, and we went to lunch after rehearsal, and we were sitting across from each other in a booth. And I said, God had something in mind when he put us together, and it certainly wasn't for our happy marriage, because that was not necessarily so, especially toward the end. But certainly the beginning it was. But I'm just saying, I said to him, but what we created and what the camaraderie, I don't know, there was something about us on stage that we just could almost read each other's minds.
Yeah, I think the word is chemistry.
We had so much chemistry, and we were so compatible. We were just, it was amazing. And I said that to him. I said, this is what it was for, I think. This was what all this was for, because I believe that in this life we're here for a reason, and to grow and to learn and to become better and to love, basically, to learn how to love, even those that are unlovable.
Yeah, that's what I used to tell other faculty members at my university. And I said, love them even when they're unlovable, referring to my students, because there were times that we weren't very lovable. And it really is true about how, it's the biblical story of how we treat each other with the golden rule. And
absolutely, if you're a follower of Jesus and you believe everything that he gave us and taught us. And I was a little girl when I became Christian. I was 7 years old. And then that's the bottom line. I've studied the Bible my entire life, and literally my entire life. And a few years ago, I came to a bottom line, and that is love is. God is love, and love is. And just about everything else you can let go of, if you're, or we should let go of, I feel.
It's more truth in that than you can possibly imagine, because we've all gone through struggles that have been difficult to navigate. And that is one thing that you hold on to, and to realize that you still have an anchor somewhere that can guide you through.
Yeah, I used to read, or I still do. My favorite devotional is Streams in the Desert by Mrs. Cowman. She and her husband were missionaries in China for years and years, and he became ill. She took care of him. Anyway, she wrote Streams in the Desert. And it's I love Billy Graham's Day by Day. I think Day by Day, but Streams in the Desert is my favorite. And there's a passage in there that says something like this, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but it's you'll feel like you're going through something really terrible, but wait 10 years and you will be, and the word they used was something like anodyne. I think that it's like an ointment for those that are going through the same thing, and you can be you can comfort them, you can be there for them, basically, and well, I've gone through a lot in my life, especially health-wise, tremendous health issues.
As we all have, and we get to a point in life we know we are going to in the future where that's concerned. I want to ask you, through the years, was there, and I know as many as you sang and just entertained us so tremendously that it's hard to put it down into a small number, but was there a favorite song that you did or that you have performed through the years?
Oh gosh. Not really. If I had to say one, it would be Wind Beneath My Wings. Yeah. And that song was the song of the year, whatever year it was. And it's been recorded by so many people. And I'm not actually crazy about my recording of it, but I have an arrangement that I loved of that song. And the reason, Steve, is because it meant so much to all the sweet husbands and wives, the couples that loved Guy and Ralna. They would say that about their spouse, that she was the wind beneath my wings, or he was the wind beneath my wings, and
indeed, that is absolutely perfect when you're talking about relationships, that they're wind beneath our wings with our Lord and Savior, and also with those that we are closest to. I told Ralna before we did this interview that my very favorite solo of hers was the arrangement she does of How Great Thou Art. I don't think it can be topped. Well, maybe it can be close by the man who sang it for Billy Graham, George Beverly Shea, but...
Well, I'll tell you, the little country singer, I can't ever think of her name, but oh gosh, she won American Idol. She was a little country.
Oh, you're thinking of Carrie Underwood?
Carrie Underwood. Oh my gosh, she has the most phenomenal recording of that. And yeah, but thank you, Steve. We played in New York. We were at Madison Square Garden, 22,000 room, standing room only for our show there. And I had just joined the show, maybe I'd been there 2 years, and he gave me that song to sing and closed the second half of the show with that. And I finished, and it was silence. And I stood there like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And all of a sudden, all 22,000 people at once began to applaud. And I was just startled, but it was probably one of the most impressive moments on stage that I've ever had.
Yeah, because
I was so young, and I'd never experienced anything like that. So.
And I remember in his book, Lawrence said that there was a real nervousness about booking Madison Square Garden because he had never played it before, and a lot of the bookers were thinking, you're never going to sell this place out. And in fact, it was standing room only that night. But there's one other that you and Guy did, my favorite of all that the two of you did, Put Your Hand in the Hand. I mean, that one just gets me wanting to get up off of my chair every time I hear it.
Yes, I know. We love doing that song. Yeah, it's a great song. I can't remember who recorded that originally.
It's Ocean.
Ocean.
Yeah. That was in that era where we had the one-word groups.
Yeah.
You could go.
Put your hand in the hand of the man who steals the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man who calmed the sea. Take a look at yourself, and you can look at others differently. Put your hand in the hand of the man from Galilee. Every time I look into the holy book, I wanna tremble. When I read about the part where the carpenter cleared the temple. For the fires and the cellars were no different fellas than what I profess to be. And it causes me shame to know I'm not the man that I should be. No, no. Put your hand in the hand of the man who steals the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man who calmed the sea. And take a look at yourself, and you can look at others differently. Put your hand in the hand of the man from Galilee. Sing a song.
My mama taught me how to pray before I reached the age of 7. And when I'm down on my knees, that's when I'm close to heaven. My daddy lived his life with 3 kids and a wife, and he knew what he should do. And he taught me enough of what it takes to get you through. Come on and put your hand in the hand of the man who steals the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man who calmed the sea. And take a look at yourself, and you can look at others differently. Put your hand in the hand of the man from Galilee. Put your hand in the hand of the man from Galilee.
To wrap it up, what is your ultimate takeaway of being part of Lawrence Welk's musical family in the years that you were a part of it? What's your ultimate takeaway?
You know, it was the camaraderie. It was the trips that we took and the hard times. We had a lot of hard times on the road. I have, over the years. And I'm not just saying with Lawrence and the whole band. I'm talking about traveling across Canada with the hoarfrost and on crutches, and just the love and the care and the friendships that I'm going to just cry.
Not surprised
As
at
I
all,
said,
because
I'm emotional.
people,
for a lot
I
of
mean,
reasons.
these became your family.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that we're still on the air.
Yeah.
Every year, every time it would come up for a renewal, we'd say, "Oh, well, this can't be the last time. This has got to be it." Well, no, they're not going to pick us up. There we go, and here we are. Still.
70 years.
Unbelievable.
70 years. Actually, if you count the 4 years that he was in local television before he went to ABC, 74. But from the fact that it's on national television, 70 years. And I mean, you got Gunsmoke that has been around that long, but it is one of the most amazing stories that still, when there are PBS affiliates that are said it from time to time that I'm not sure whether we want to carry that anymore, and they change their minds very quickly.
Right. Exactly. And another thing you asked me, the takeaway, we opened a theater in Branson in 1994, called Champagne Theater there, and I worked that for about a 10-year period, I think. Periodically I'd go. And of course, I've known the Lennons sisters for all these years. but really got close to, I've been close to Kathy for forever and ever, but I really got closer to Janet, Dee Dee, and Mimi, who is, there's 11 kids in that family,
Yeah.
boys and girls. And there's Mimi and Annie that were the two younger girls. And Mimi joined them at the theater there in Branson. And so I got close to them, and I just, of course, just love them to pieces. And, I never would have had that experience to get to be near them and close to them. So, I've just had a wonderful life, Steve, with all these wonderful people.
And that's, I think that is the exclamation point on it right there, is that at this stage where we all are, to feel as though that you have had something where it is, and I don't apologize to say a storybook situation, because even though you had trials through those periods, it's still, they're your family in so many ways. Well, Ralna, we are at just past New Year, Thursday night, and Christmas just has gone by, and here we are. To our viewers in West Tennessee, would you like to wish them a Happy New Year?
I wish you a very happy 2026 for all of us in this beautiful, wonderful country that we're so privileged to live in. All of you sweet people there in Tennessee, I love every single one of you. Every single one. And you, Steve, thank you so much for this. This was lovely. You're such a nice guy and such a lovely person. And boy, you know a lot more than I know about Lawrence, and that I couldn't believe you'd read all of his books. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, those of us who are TV historians tend to be a little bit nerdish when it comes to that category. But this has been a real treat for me, because whereas I was one of many people that you have met over the years that you couldn't possibly remember. But I met you back in the late 90s when you appeared with the Welk family at Memphis, at a high school auditorium there, and now to have an opportunity to share your story with our viewers on TV Classics, it just can't get any better than this. And thanks so much for your time. It's just been a joy.
Steve. This has been fun.
And I hope we can do it again. And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you and everybody there in Tennessee.
One of Ralna's greatest arrangements is of the wonderful hymn that came along in the late 1950s, written by Stuart K. Hine. And it became really the centerpiece of the Billy Graham Crusades, How Great Thou Art. She sings it like few do. So as we wind up tonight, let's hear Ralna with How Great Thou Art. Thanks for joining us. Remember, the Lawrence Welk Show will be on right after we go away.
Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home What joy shall fill my heart, and I shall bow in humble adoration, and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. There sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. My soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art. How great thou art.
Good night, lady.
Farewell, gentlemen.
Sweet dreams, everyone. We're going to leave you now. Hope you had a happy time, happy time, happy time. Hope you had a happy time. We had a good time too. Good night, ladies. So long, everyone. It's time to leave you now. Good night.